on chapter 9, and we're reading 9, 10, 11, so that not this week, but next week, we start the Calypso stuff. I've been waiting to start Calypso and Percy Jackson for so long. But anyways, chapter 9, I Scoop Poop. So, I lost hope when I saw the horse's teeth. As I got closer to the fence, I held my shirt over my nose to block the smell. One stallion waded through the muck and whinnied angrily at me. He bared his teeth, which were pointed like a bear's. I tried to talk to him in my mind. I can do that with most horses. "Hi," I told him. "I'm going to clean your stables. Won't that be great?" "Yes," the horse said. "Come inside. Eat you, tasty half-blood." "But I'm Poseidon's son," I protested. "He created horses." Usually this gets me VIP treatment with the equestrian world, but not this time. "Yes," the horse agreed enthusiastically. "Poseidon can come in too. We'll eat you both. Seafood." "Seafood," the other horses chimed in as they waded through the field. Flies were buzzing everywhere, and the heat of the day didn't make the smell any better. I had some idea that I could do this challenge because I'd remembered how Hercules had done it. He channeled a river into the stables and cleaned them out that way. I figured I can maybe control the water, but if I couldn't get close to the horses without getting eaten, that was a problem. And the river was downhill from the stables. A lot further away than I'd realized, almost half a mile. The problem with the poop looked a lot bigger up close. I picked up a rusted shovel and experimentally scooped some away from the fence line. Great, only 4 billion shovelfuls to go. The sun was already sinking. I had a few hours at best. I decided the river was my only hope. At least it would be easier to think of the riverside than it was to think at the riverside than it was here. I set off down the hill. When I got to the river, I found a girl waiting for me. She was wearing jeans and a green t-shirt, and her long brown hair was braided with river grass. She had a stern look on her face. Her arms were crossed. "Oh, no, you don't," she said. I stared at her. "Are you a naiad?" She rolled her eyes. "Of course. But you speak English, and you're out of the water. What, you don't think we can act human if we want to?" I never thought about it. I kind of felt stupid, though, because I'd seen plenty of naiads at camp, and they'd never done much more than giggle and wave at me from the bottom of the canoe lake. "Look," I said, "I just came to ask." "I know who you are," she said, "and I know what you want, and the answer is no. I'm not going to have my river used again to clean that filthy stable." "But, oh, save it, sea boy. You ocean god types always think you're so much more important than some little river, don't you? Well, let me tell you, this naiad is not going to be pushed around just because your daddy is Poseidon. This is freshwater territory, mister. The last guy who asked me this favor, he was way better looking than you, by the way. He convinced me, and that was the worst mistake I ever made. Do you have any idea what all that horse manure does to my ecosystem? Do I look like a sewage treatment plant to you? My fish will die. I'll never get that muck out of my plants. I'll be sick for years. No, thank you." The way she talked reminded me of my mortal friend, Rachel Elizabeth Dare. Kind of like she was punching me with words. I couldn't blame the naiad now that I thought about it. I'd be pretty mad if somebody dumped 4 million pounds of manure in my home, but still. "My friends are in danger," I told her. "Well, that's too bad, but it's not my problem. And you're not going to ruin my river." She looked like she was ready for a fight. Her fists were balled, but I thought I heard a little quiver in her voice. Suddenly, I realized that despite her angry attitude, she was afraid of me. She probably thought I was going to fight her for control of the river, and she was worried she would lose. The thought made me sad. I felt like a bully, son of Poseidon throwing his weight around. I sat down on a tree stump. "Okay, you win." The naiad looked surprised. "Really? I'm not going to fight you. It's your river." She relaxed her shoulders. Oh, good. I mean, good thing for you. But my friends and I are going to get sold to the Titans if I don't clean those stables by sunset, and I don't know how." The river gurgled along cheerfully. A snake slid through the water and ducked its head under. Finally, the naiad sighed. "I'll tell you a secret, son of the sea god. Scoop up some dirt." "What? You heard me." I crouched down and scooped up a handful of Texas dirt. It was dry and black and spotted with tiny clumps of white rock. "No, something besides rock." "Those are shells," the naiad said. "Petrified seashells, millions of years ago, even before the time of the gods when only Gaia and Uranus reigned. This land was underwater, it was part of the sea." Suddenly, I saw what she meant. There were little pieces of ancient urchins in my hand, mollusk shells, even the limestone rocks had impressions of seashells embedded in them. Okay, I said. What good does that do to me? You're not so different from me, demigod. Even when I'm out of water, the water is within me. It is my life source. She stepped back, put her feet in the river, and smiled. I hope you find a way to rescue your friends. And with that, she turned to liquid and melted into the river. He is such a good kid. Oh my gosh. And yeah, I'm glad I'm doing these read-alongs too. Hold on, pin the comment. But yeah, he's so sweet. The fact that he was just like, you win, girly. This is why me and Shannon love Percy. The sun was touching the hills when I got back to the stables. Somebody must have come by and fed the horses because they were tearing into huge animal carcasses. I couldn't tell what kind of animal, and I really didn't want to know. It was possible for stables to get more disgusting. 50 horses tearing into raw meat did it. Seafood, one thought when he saw me. Come in, we're still hungry. What was I supposed to do? I couldn't use the river, and the fact that this place had been underwater a million years ago didn't exactly help me now. I looked at the little calcified seashell in my hand, then at the huge mountain of dung. Frustrated, I threw the shell into the poop. I was about to turn my back on the horses when I heard a sound, pfft, like a balloon with a leak. I looked down where I had thrown the shell. A tiny spout of water was shooting out of the muck. No way, I muttered. Hesitantly, I stepped toward the fence. Get bigger, I told the water spout. Spoosh! Water shot 3 feet into the air and kept bubbling. It was impossible, but there it was. A couple of horses came over to check it out. One put his mouth to the spring and recoiled. Yuck, he said, salty. It was seawater in the middle of a Texas ranch. I scooped up another handful of dirt and picked out the shell fossils. I didn't really know what I was doing, but I ran around the length of the stable throwing shells into the dung piles. Everywhere a seashell hit, a saltwater spring erupted. Stop, the horses cried. Meat is good, baths are bad. I noticed the water wasn't running out of the stables or flowing downhill like water normally would. It simply bubbled around each spring and sank into the ground, taking the dung with it. The horse poop dissolved in the salt water, leaving regular old wet dirt. More, I yelled. There was a tugging sensation in my gut, and the water spouts exploded like the world's largest car wash. Salt water shot 20 feet into the air. The horses went crazy, running back and forth as the geysers sprayed them from all directions. Mountains of poop began to melt like ice. The tugging sensation became more intense, painful even, but there was something exhilarating about seeing all that salt water. I had made this. I had brought the ocean to this hillside. Stop, Lord, a horse cried. Stop, please. Water was sloshing everywhere now. The horses were drenched, and some were panicking and slipping in the mud. The poop was completely gone. Tons of it just dissolved into the earth, and the water was now starting to pool, trickling out of a stable, making 100 little streams down toward the river. Stop, I told the water. Nothing happened. The pain in my gut was building. If I didn't shut off the geyser soon, the salt water would run into the river and poison the fish and plants. Stop! I concentrated with all my might on shutting off the force of the sea. Suddenly, the geyser shut down. I collapsed to my knees, exhausted. In front of me was a shiny, clean horse stable, a field of wet, salty mud, and 50 horses that had been scoured so thoroughly their coats gleamed. Even the meat scraps between their teeth had been washed out. We won't eat you, the horses wailed. Please, Lord, no more salty bass. On one condition, I said, you only eat the food your handlers give you from now on, not people, or I'll be back with more seashells. The horses whinnied and made a whole lot of promises that they would be good flesh-eating horses from now on. But I didn't stick around to chat. The sun was going down. I turned and ran full speed toward the ranch house. I smelled barbecue before I reached the house, and that made me madder than ever, because I really love barbecue. The deck was set up for a party, streamers and balloons decorating the railing. Garyon was flipping burgers on a huge barbecue cooker made from an oil drum. Eurydion lounged at the picnic table, picking his fingernails with a knife. The two-headed dog sniffed the ribs and burgers that were frying on the grill. And then I saw my friends, Tyson, Grover, Annabeth, and Nico, all tossed in a corner and tied up like rodeo animals with their ankles and wrists roped together and their mouths gagged. Let them go, I yelled, still out of breath and running up the steps. I cleaned the stables. Garyon turned. He wore an apron on his chest with the one word on each so that they spelled out, Kiss the Chef. Did you now? How'd you manage it? I was pretty impatient, but I told him. He nodded appreciatively. Very ingenious. It would have been better if you poisoned that pesky naiad, but no matter. Let my friends go, I said. We had a deal. Ah, I've been thinking about that. The problem is, if I let them go, I don't get paid. You promised! Garyon made a tisk-tisk noise. But did you make me swear on the river Styx? No, you didn't, so it's not binding. When you're conducting business, Sonny, you should always get a binding oath. Oof, not the river Styx being used like a contract. I drew my sword, Orthus growled. One head leaned down next to Grover's ear and bared its fangs. Eurydion, Geryon said. The boy is starting to annoy me. Kill him. Eurydion studied me. I didn't like my odds against him in that huge club. Kill him yourself, Eurydion said. Geryon raised his eyebrows. Excuse me? You heard me, Eurydion grumbled. You keep sending me out to do your dirty work. You pick fights for no good reason, and I'm tired of dying for you. You want to fight the kid? Do it yourself. It was the most un-Ares-like thing I'd ever heard a son of Ares say. Geryon threw down his spatula. You dare defy me? I should fire you right now. And who'd take care of your cattle? Orthus heel. The dog immediately stopped growling at Grover and came to sit by the cowherd's feet. Fine, Geryon said. I'll deal with you later after the boy is dead. He picked up 2 carving knives and threw them at me. I deflected one with my sword, and the other impaled itself on the picnic table an inch from Euridion's hand. I went on the attack. Geryon parried my first strike with a pair of red-hot tongs and lunged at my face with a barbecue fork. I got inside his thrust and stabbed him right through the middle chest. Ah, he crumpled to his knees. I waited for him to disintegrate the way monsters usually do, but instead he just grimaced and began to stand up. The wound in his chef's apron started to heal. Nice try, Sonny. The thing is, I have 3 hearts. The perfect backup system. He tripped over the barbecue, and the coils spilled everywhere. One landed next to Annabeth's face, and she let out a muffled scream. Tyson strained against his bonds, but even his strength wasn't enough to break them. I had to end this fight before my friends got hurt. I jabbed Geryon in the left chest, but he only laughed. I struck him in his right stomach. No good. I might as well be sticking a sword in a teddy bear for all the reaction he showed. 3 hearts. The perfect backup system. Stabbing one at a time was no good. I ran into the house. Coward, he cried. Come back and die right. The living room walls were decorated with a bunch of gruesome hunting trophies. Stuffed deer, dragon heads, a gun case, a sword display, and a bow with a quiver. Geryon threw his barbecue fork, and it thudded into the wall next to my head. He drew 2 swords from the wall display. Your head's gonna go right there, Jackson, next to the grizzly bear. I had a crazy idea. I dropped Riptide and grabbed the bow off the wall. I was the worst archery shot in the world. I couldn't hit the targets at camp, much less a bullseye. But I had no choice. I couldn't win this fight with a sword. I prayed to Artemis and Apollo, the twin archers, hoping they might take pity on me for once. Please, guys, just 1 shot, please. I notched an arrow. Geryon laughed. You fool, 1 arrow is no better than 1 sword. He raised his sword and charged. I dove sideways before he could turn. I shot my arrow through the side of his right chest. I heard thump, thump, thump as the arrow passed clean through each of his chests and flew out his left side, embedding itself in the forehead of the grizzly bear trophy. Geryon dropped his swords. He turned and stared at me. You can't shoot! They told me you couldn't. His face turned a sickly shade of green. He collapsed to his knees and began crumbling into sand until all that was left were 3 cooking aprons and an oversized pair of cowboy boots. I got my friends untied. Eurydion didn't try to stop me. Then I stoked up the barbecue and threw food into the flames as burnt offerings for Artemis and Apollo. Thanks, guys, I said. I owe you one. The sky thundered in the distance, so I figured maybe the burger smelled okay. Yay for Percy, Tyson said. Can we tie up this cowherd now? Nico asked. Yeah, Grover agreed, and that dog almost killed me. I looked at Eurydion, who was still sitting relaxed at the picnic table. Orthus had both heads on the cowherd's knees. How long will it take Geryon to reform? I asked him. Eurydion shrugged. 100 years? He's not one of those fast reformers, thank the gods. You've done me a favor. You said you died for him before. I remembered. How? I worked for that creep for thousands of years. Started as a regular half-blood, but I chose immortality when my dad offered it. Worst mistake I ever made. Now I'm stuck here at this ranch. I can't leave. I can't quit. I just tend the cows and fight Garion's fights. We're kind of tied together. Maybe you can change things, I said. Eurydion narrowed his eyes. How? Be nice to the animals. Take care of them. Stop selling them for food and stop dealing with the Titans. Eurydion thought about that. That'd be all right. Get the animals on your side and they'll help you. Once Garion gets back, maybe he'll be working for you this time. Eurydion grinned. Now that I could live with. You won't try to stop us leaving? Shoot, no. Annabeth rubbed her bruised wrists. She was still looking at Eurydion suspiciously. Your boss said that somebody paid for our safe passage. Who? Cowherd shrugged. Maybe he was just saying that to fool you. What about the Titans? I asked. Did you Iris message them about Nico yet? Nope. Garion was waiting until after the barbecue. They don't know anything about him. Nico was glaring at me. I wasn't sure what to do about him. I doubted he would agree to come with us. On the other hand, I couldn't just let him roam around on his own. You could stay here until we're done with our quest, I told him. It would be safe. Safe? Nico said. What do you care if I'm safe? You got my sister killed. Nico, Annabeth said. That wasn't Percy's fault. And Garion wasn't lying about Kronos wanting to capture you. If he knew who you were, he'd do anything to get you on his side. I'm not on anyone's side, and I'm not afraid. You should be, Annabeth said. Your sister wouldn't want. If you cared for my sister, you'd help me bring her back. A soul for a soul? I said, yes. But if you didn't want my soul, I'm not explaining anything to you. He blinked tears out of his eyes. And I will bring her back. Bianca wouldn't want to be brought back, I said. Not like that. You didn't know her, he shouted. How do you know what she'd want? I stared at the flames in the barbecue pit. I thought about the line in Annabeth's prophecy. You shall rise or fall by the Ghost King's hand. That had to be Minos, and I had to convince Nico to listen to him. Let's ask Bianca. The sky seemed to grow darker all of a sudden. I've tried, Nico said miserably. She won't answer. Try again. I've got a feeling she'll answer with me here. Why would she? Because she's been sending me Iris messages, I said, suddenly sure of it. She's been trying to warn me what you're up to so I can protect you. Nico shook his head. That's impossible. One way to find out. You said you're not afraid. I turned to Eurydion. We're going to need a pit like a grave and food and drinks. Percy, Annabeth warned. I don't think this is a good... All right, Nico said. I'll try. Eurydion scratched his beard. There's a hole dug out back for a septic tank. You could use that. Cyclops boy, fetch my ice chest from the kitchen. I hope the dead like root beer. Alright, so that's the end of chapter 9. Getting started with chapter 10 of Percy Jackson, Battle of the Labyrinth. So this one's called We Play the Game Show of Death. And where we left off in chapter 9, Nico was going to try to summon Bianca. So we did our summons after dark at a 20-foot long pit in front of the septic tank. The tank was bright yellow with a smiley face and red words painted on the side, Happy Flush Disposal Company. It didn't quite go with the mood of summoning the dead. The moon was full, silver clouds drifted across the sky. I feel like some of this moon imagery is significant to the Bianca part. The moon was full, silver clouds drifted across the sky. Minos should be here by now, Nico said, frowning. It's full dark. Maybe he got lost, I said hopefully. Nico poured root beer and tossed barbecue into the pit, then began chanting in ancient Greek. Immediately, the bugs in the woods stopped chirping. In my pocket, the Stygian ice dog whistle started to grow colder, freezing against the side of my leg. Make him stop, Tyson whispered to me. Part of me agreed. This was unnatural. The night air felt cold and menacing, but before I could say anything, the first spirits appeared. Sulphurous mist seeped out of the ground. Shadows thickened into human forms. One blue shade drifted to the edge of the pit and knelt to drink. Stop him, Nico said, momentarily breaking his chant. Only Bianca may drink. I drew riptide. The ghosts retreated with a collective hiss at the sight of my celestial bronze blade. But it was too late to stop the first spirit. He had already solidified into the shape of a bearded man in white robes. A circlet of gold wreathed his head, and even in death his eyes were alive with malice. Minos, Nico said, what are you doing? My apologies, master, the ghost said, though he didn't sound very sorry. The sacrifice smelled so good I couldn't resist. He examined his own hands and smiled. It is good to see myself again, almost in solid form. You're disrupting the ritual, Nico protested. Get... The spirits of the dead began shimmering dangerously bright, and Nico had to take up the chant again to keep them at bay. Yes, quite right, Master, Mito said with amusement. You keep chanting. I've only come to protect you from those liars who would deceive you. He turned to me as if I were some kind of cockroach. Percy Jackson, my. The sons of Poseidon haven't improved over the centuries, have they? I wanted to punch him, but I figured my fist would go right through his face. We're looking for Bianca D'Angelo, I said. Get lost. The ghost chuckled. I understand you once killed my minotaur with your bare hands, but worse things await you in the maze. Do you really believe Daedalus will help you? The other spirits stirred in agitation. Annabeth drew her knife and helped me keep them away from the pit. Grover got so nervous he clung to Tyson's shoulder. Daedalus cares nothing for you half-bloods, Minos warned. You can't trust him. He's old beyond counting and crafty. He's bitter from the guilt of murder and is cursed by the gods. The guilt of murder, I asked. Who did he kill? Do not change the subject, the ghost growled. You are hindering Nico. You try to persuade him to give up his goal. I would make him a lord. Enough, Minos, Nico commanded. The ghost sneered. Master, these are your enemies. You must not listen to them. Let me protect you. I will turn their minds to madness, as I did the others. The others? Annabeth gasped. You mean Chris Rodriguez? That was you? The maze is my property, the ghost said. Not Daedalus's. Those who intrude deserve madness. Begone, Minos, Nico demanded. I want to see my sister. The ghost bit back his rage. As you wish, Master, but I warn you, you cannot trust these heroes. With that, he faded into the mist. Other spirits rushed forward, but Annabeth and I kept them back. Hold on. Gonna underline something for the discussion. The guilt of murder. That is in reference to his nephew, Perdix. Anyways, sorry. Begone, Minos. I want to see my sister, Nico demanded. The ghost spit back his rage. As you wish, Master, but I warn you, you cannot trust these heroes. With that, he faded into the mist. Other spirits rushed forward, but Annabeth and I kept them back. Bianca, appear, Nico intoned. He started chanting faster. The spirits shifted restlessly. Any time now, Grover muttered. Then a silvery light flickered in the trees, a spirit that seemed brighter and stronger than the others. It came closer, and something told me to let it pass. It knelt to drink in the pit. When it arose, it was the ghostly form of Bianca D'Angelo. Nico's chanting faltered. I lowered my sword, but the other spirits started to crowd forward. But Bianca raised her arms, and they retreated into the woods. Hello, Percy, she said. She looked the same as she had in life. A green cap set sideways on her thick black hair, dark eyes, and olive skin like her brother. She wore jeans and a silvery jacket, the outfit of a hunter of Artemis. A bow was slung over her shoulder. She smiled faintly. Her whole form flickered. Bianca, I said. My voice was thick. I'd felt guilty about her death for a long time, but seeing her in front of me was 5 times as bad, like her death was fresh and new. I remembered searching through the wreckage of the giant bronze warrior she'd sacrificed her life to defeat, and not finding any sign of her. I'm so sorry, I said. You have nothing to apologize for, Percy. I made my own choice. I don't regret it. Bianca, Nico stumbled forward like he was just coming out of a daze. She turned towards her brother. Her expression was sad, as if she'd been dreading this moment. Hello, Nico. You've gotten so tall. Why didn't you answer me sooner? He cried. I've been trying for months. I was hoping you would give up. Give up? He sounded heartbroken. How could you say that? I'm trying to save you. You can't, Nico. Don't do this. Percy is right. No, he let you die. He's not your friend. Bianca stretched out a hand as if to touch her brother's face, but she was made out of mist. Her hand evaporated as it got close to living skin. You must listen to me, she said. Holding grudges is dangerous for a child of Hades. It is our fatal flaw. You have to forgive. You have to promise me this. I can't. Never. Percy has been worried about you, Nico. He can help. I let him see what you were up to, hoping he would find you. So it was you, I said. You sent those iris messages. Bianca nodded. Why are you helping him and not me? Nico screamed. It's not fair. You're close to the truth now, Bianca told him. It's not Percy you're mad at, Nico. It's me. No. You're mad because I left you to become a hunter of Artemis. You're mad because I died and left you alone. I'm sorry for that, Nico. I truly am. But you must overcome the anger and stop blaming Percy for my choices. It'll be your doom. She's right, Annabeth broke in. Kronos is rising, Nico. He'll twist anyone he can to his cause. I don't care about Kronos, Nico said. I just want my sister back. You can't have that, Nico, Bianca told him gently. I'm the son of Hades. I can. Don't try, she said. If you love me, don't. Her voice trailed off. Spirits started to gather around us again, and they seemed agitated. Their shadows shifted, their voices whispered, danger. Tartarus stirs, Bianca said. Your power draws the attention of Kronos. The dead must return to the underworld. It is not safe for us to remain. Wait, Nico said, please. Goodbye, Nico, Bianca said. I love you. Remember what I said. Her form shivered, and the ghost disappeared, leaving us alone with a pit, a happy flesh septic tank, and a cold full moon. None of us were anxious to travel that night, so we decided to wait until morning. Gerva and I crashed on the leather couches in Garion's living room, which was a lot more comfortable than a bedroll in the maze, but it didn't make my nightmares any better. I dreamed I was with Luke, walking through the dark palace on top of Mount Tam. It was a real building now, not some half-finished illusion like I'd seen last winter. Green fires burned in braziers along the wall. The floor was polished black marble. A cold wind blew down the hallway, and above us, through the open ceiling, the sky swirled with gray storm clouds. Luke was dressed for battle. He wore camouflage pants, a white t-shirt, and a bronze breastplate, but his sword backbiter wasn't at his side, only an empty scabbard. We walked into a large courtyard where dozens of warriors and Dracaeni were preparing for war. When they saw him, the demigods rose to attention. They beat their swords against their shields. Is it time, my lord? A Dracaena asked. Soon, Luke promised. Continue your work. My lord, a voice said behind him. Kelly the Impuza was smiling at him. She wore a blue dress tonight and looked wickedly beautiful. Her eyes flickered, sometimes dark brown, sometimes pure red. Her hair was braided down her back and seemed to catch the light of the torches as if it were anxious to try to turn into pure flame. My heart was pounding. I waited for Kelly to see me, to chase me out of the dream as she did before, but this time she didn't seem to notice me. You have a visitor, she told Luke. She stepped aside, and even Luke seemed stunned by what he saw. The monster Campy towered above him. Her snakes hissed around her legs, animal heads growing at her waist. Her swords were drawn, shimmering with poison, and with her bat wings extended, she looked like she took up the entire corridor. You, Luke's voice sounded a little shaky. I told you to stay on Alcatraz. Campy's eyelids blinked sideways like a reptile's. She spoke in that weird rumbling language, but this time I understood. Somewhere in the back of my mind, I come to serve, give me revenge. You're a jailer, Luke said. Your job. I will have them dead. No one escapes me. Luke hesitated. A line of sweat trickled down the side of his face. Very well, he said. You will go with us. You may carry Ariadne's string. It is a position of great honor. Campy hissed at the stars. She sheathed her swords and turned, pounding down the hallway on her enormous dragon legs. We should have left that one in Tartarus, Luke mumbled. She's too chaotic, too powerful. Kelly laughed softly. You should not fear power, Luke. Use it. The sooner we leave, the better, Luke said. I want this over with. Aw, Kelly sympathized, running a finger down his arm. You find it unpleasant to destroy your old camp? I didn't say that. I hope you're not having second thoughts about your own, special part. Luke's face turned stony. I know my duty. That is good, the demon said. Is our strike force sufficient, do you think? Or will I need to call Mother Hecate for help? We have more than enough, Luke said grimly. Deal is almost complete. All I need now is to negotiate safe passage through the arena. Kelly said. That should be interesting. I would hate to see your handsome head on a spike if you fail. I will not fail. And you, demon, don't have other matters to attend to? Don't you have other matters to attend to? Oh yes, Kelly smiled. I am bringing despair to our eavesdropping enemies. I am doing that right now. She turned her eyes directly on me, exposed her talons, and ripped through my dream. Suddenly I was in a different place. I stood at the top of a stone tower overlooking rocky cliffs and the ocean below. The old man Daedalus was hunched over a work table wrestling with some kind of navigational instrument like a huge compass. He looked years older than what I'd last seen him. He was stooped and his hands were gnarled. He cursed in ancient Greek and squinted as if he couldn't see his work even if it was a sunny day. "Uncle," a voice called. A smiling voice, a boy about Nico's age, came bounding up the steps carrying a wooden box. "Hello, Perdix," the old man said, though his tone sounded cold. "Done with your projects already?" "Yes, Uncle, they were easy." Daedalus scowled. "Easy? The problem of moving water uphill without a pump was easy?" "Oh yes, look." The boy dumped his box and rummaged through the junk. He came up with a strip of papyrus and showed the old inventor some diagrams and notes. They didn't seem to make any sense to me, but Daedalus nodded grudgingly. "I see. Not bad." The king loved it. Perdix said, He said I might be even smarter than you." "Did he now? But I don't believe that. I'm so glad Mother sent me to study with you. I want to know everything you do." "Yes," Daedalus muttered. "So when I die, you could take my place, eh?" The boy's eyes widened. "Oh no, Uncle, but I've been thinking. Why does a man have to die anyway?" The inventor scowled. "It is the way of things, lad. Everything dies but the gods." "But why?" the boy insisted. "If you could capture the animus, the soul in another form, well, you've told me about your automatons, Uncle. Bulls, eagles, dragons, horses of bronze. Why not a bronze form for a man?" "No, my boy," Daedalus said sharply. "You are naive. Such a thing is impossible." "I don't think so," Perdix insisted. "With the use of a little magic." "Magic? Bah!" "Yes, Uncle, magic, and mechanics together. With a little work, one can make a body that would look exactly human, only better. I've made some notes." He handed the old man a thick scroll. Daedalus unfurled it. He read for a long time. His eyes narrowed. He glanced at the boy, then closed the scroll and cleared his throat. "It would never work, my boy. When you're older, you'll see. I can fix that astrolabe. Astrolabe? I have no idea what that word is. Then, Uncle, are your joints swelling up again?" The old man's jaw clenched. "No, thank you. Now, why don't you run along?" Perdix didn't seem to notice the old man's anger. He snatched a bronze beetle from his mound of stuff and ran to the edge of the tower. A low sill ringed the rim, coming just up to the boy's knees. The wind was strong. "Move back," I wanted to tell him, but my voice didn't work. Perdix wound up the beetle and tossed it into the sky. It spread its wings and hummed away. Perdix laughed with delight. "Smarter than me," Daedalus mumbled, too soft for the boy to hear. "Is it true your son died flying, Uncle? I heard you made him enormous wings, but they failed." Daedalus's hands clenched. "Take my place," he muttered. The wind whipped around the boy, tugging at his clothes, making his hair ripple. "I would like to fly," Perdix said. "I'd make my own wings that wouldn't fail. Do you think I could?" Maybe it was a dream within my dream, but suddenly I imagined the two-headed god Janus shimmering in the air next to Daedalus, smiling as he tossed a silver key from hand to hand. "Choose," he whispered to the old inventor. "Choose." Daedalus picked up another one of the boy's metal bugs. The inventor's old eyes were red with anger. "Perdix," he called. "Catch." He tossed the bronze beetle toward the boy. Delighted, Perdix tried to catch it, but the throw was too long. The beetle sailed into the open sky, and Perdix reached a little too far. The wind caught him. But somehow he managed to grab the rim of the tower with his fingers as he fell. "Uncle!" he screamed. "Help me!" The old man's face was a mask. He did not move from the spot. "Go on, Perdix," he said softly. "Make your own wings. Be quick about it." "Uncle!" the boy cried as he lost his grip. He tumbled towards the sea. There was a moment of deadly silence. The god Janus flickered and disappeared. Then thunder shook the sky. A woman's stern voice spoke from above. "You will pay the price for that, Daedalus." That's Athena. And Rick put these events out of order, but we'll talk about that on the pod. I'd heard that voice before. It was Annabeth's mother, Athena. I always say that right before the text does it. Daedalus scowled up at the heavens. "I have always honored you, Mother. I have sacrificed everything to follow your way. If the boy had my blessing as well, and you've killed him, for that you must pay." "I've paid and paid," Daedalus growled. "I've lost everything. I'll suffer in the underworld, no doubt. But in the meantime," he picked up the boy's scroll, studied it for a moment, and slipped it into his sleeve. "You do not understand," Athena said coldly. "You will pay now and forever." Suddenly, Daedalus collapsed in agony. I felt what he felt. A searing pain closed around my neck like molten hot collar, cutting off my breath and making everything go black. I woke up in the dark, my hands clutching my throat. Percy, Grover called from the other sofa. Are you okay? I steadied my breathing. I wasn't sure how to answer. I just watched the guy we were looking for, Daedalus, murder his own nephew. How could I be okay? The television that was going, blue light flickered through the rooms. What time is it? I croaked. 2 a.m, Grover said. I couldn't sleep. I was watching the Nature Channel. He sniffled. I miss Juniper. I rubbed the sleep out of my eyes. Yeah, well, you'll see her again soon. Grover shook his head sadly. Do you know what day it is, Percy? I just saw it on TV. It's June 13th, 7 days since we left camp. What? I said, that can't be right. Time is faster in the labyrinth, Grover reminded me. The first time you and Annabeth went down there, you thought you were only gone a few minutes, right? But it was an hour. Oh, I said, right. Then it dawned on me what he was saying. My throat felt searing hot again. Your deadline with the Council of Cloven Elders. Grover put the TV remote in his mouth and crunched off the end of it. I'm out of time, he said with a mouthful of plastic. As soon as I go back, they'll take away my searcher's license. I'll never be allowed to go out again. Go back, they'll take away my searcher's license. I'll never be allowed to go out again. We'll talk to them, I promised. Make them give you more time. Grover swallowed. They'll never go for it. The world is dying, Percy. Every day it gets worse. The wild. I can just feel it fading. I have to find Pan. You will, man. No doubt. Grover looked at me with sad goat eyes. You've always been a good friend, Percy. What you did today, saving the ranch animals from Garyon, that was amazing. I wish I could be more like you. Hey, I said, don't say that. You're just as much a hero. No, I'm not. I keep trying, but, he sighed. Percy, I can't go back to camp without finding Pan. I just can't. You understand that, don't you? I can't face Juniper if I fail. I can't even face myself. His voice was so unhappy it hurt to hear. We'd been through a lot together, but I never heard him this down. I'll figure out something, I said. You haven't failed. You're the champion goat boy, all right? Juniper knows that. So do I. Grover closed his eyes. Champion goat boy, he muttered dejectedly. A long time after he dozed off, I was still awake watching the blue light of the Nature Channel wash over the stuffed trophy heads on Garyon's walls. Next morning, we walked down to the cattle guard and said our goodbyes. Nico, you can come with us, I blurted out. I guess I was thinking about my dream, about how much the young boy Perdix reminded me of Nico. He shook his head. I don't think any of us had slept well in the Demon Ranch house, but Nico looked worse than anybody else. His eyes were red and his face chalky. He was wrapped in a black robe that must have belonged to Garyon because it was 3 sizes too big for even a grown man. I need time to think. His eyes wouldn't meet mine, but I could tell from his tone he was still angry. The fact that his sister had come out of the underworld for me and not for him didn't seem to sit well with him. Nico, Annabeth said, Bianca just wants you to be okay. She put her hand on his shoulder, but he pulled away and trudged up the road toward the ranch house. Maybe it was my imagination, but the morning mist seemed to cling to him as he walked. I'm worried about him, Annabeth told me. If he starts talking to Minos' ghost again. He'll be all right, Eurydion promised. The cowherd had cleaned up nicely. He was wearing new jeans and a clean western t-shirt and even trimmed his beard. He'd put on Garyon's boots. The boy can stay here and gather his thoughts as long as he wants. He'll be safe, I promise. What about you? I asked. Eurydion scratched Orthus behind the chin, then the other, behind one chin and then the other. Things are gonna run a little different on this ranch from now on. No more sacred cattle meat. I'm thinking about soybean patties, and I'm gonna befriend those flesh-eating horses. Might just sign up for the next rodeo. About Bianca, they tried to talk to her. Yeah, they tried to talk to her at the beginning of the chapter, and it worked, but only because Percy was there. So Nico was very not happy about that. Let's see. The idea made me shudder. Well, good luck. Yep, Eurydion spit into the grass. I reckon you'll be looking for Daedalus's workshop now. Annabeth's eyes lit up. Can you help us? Eurydion studied the cattle guard. I got the feeling the subject of Daedalus's workshop made him uncomfortable. I don't know where it is, but Hephaestus probably would. That's what Harris said, Annabeth agreed. But how do we find Hephaestus? Eurydion pulled something from under the collar of his shirt. It was a necklace, a smooth silver disc on a silver chain. The disc had a depression on the middle like a thumbprint. He handed it to Annabeth. Hephaestus comes here from time to time, Eurydion said. Studies the animals and such so he can make bronze automaton copies. Last time I did him a favor, a little trick he wanted to play on my dad, Ares, and Aphrodite. He gave me that chain in gratitude, said if I ever needed to find him, the disc would lead me to his forges, but only once. And you're giving it to us? Annabeth asked. Eurydion blushed. I don't need to see the forges, miss. Got enough to do here. Just press the button and you'll be on your way. Annabeth pressed the button and the disc sprang to life. It grew 8 metallic legs. Annabeth shrieked and dropped it, much to Eurydian's confusion. Spider! She screamed. She's a little scared of spiders, Grover explained. That old grudge between Athena and Arachne. Oh, Eurydion looked embarrassed. Sorry, miss. The spider scrambled to the cattle guard and disappeared between the bars. Hurry, I said. That thing's not going to wait for us. Annabeth wasn't anxious to follow, but we didn't have much choice. We said our goodbyes to Eurydion. Tyson pulled the cattle guard off the hole, and we dropped back into the maze. I wish I could have put the mechanical spider on a leash. It scuttled along the tunnel so fast most of the time I couldn't even see it. If it hadn't been for Tyson and Grover's excellent hearing, we would have never known which way it was going. We ran down the marble tunnel, then dashed to the left and almost fell into an abyss. Tyson grabbed me and hauled me back before I could fall. The tunnel continued in front of us, but there was no floor in about 100 feet, just gaping darkness and a series of iron rungs in the ceiling. The mechanical spider was about halfway across, swinging from bar to bar by shooting a metal web fiber. Monkey bars, Annabeth said. I'm great at these. She leaped onto the first rung and started swinging her way across. She was scared of tiny spiders, but not of plummeting to her death from a set of monkey bars. Go figure. Annabeth got to the opposite side and ran after the spider. I followed. When I got across, I looked back and saw Tyson giving Grover a piggyback ride. Or was it a goatee back ride? The big guy made it across in 3 swings, which was a good thing since just as he landed, the last iron bar ripped free under his weight. We kept moving and passed a skeleton crumpled in the tunnel. It wore the remains of a dress shirt, slacks, and a tie. The spider didn't slow down. I slipped on a pile of wood scraps. But when I shined a light on them, I realized they were pencils, hundreds of them, all broken in half. The tunnel opened up into a large room. A blazing light hit us. Once my eyes adjusted, the first thing I noticed were these skeletons. Dozens littered on the floor around us. Some were old and bleached white, others were more recent and a lot grosser. They didn't smell quite as bad as Garryon's stables, but almost. Then I saw the monster. She stood on a glittery die in the opposite side of the room. She had the body of a huge lion and the head of a woman. It was a sphinx. She would have been pretty, but her hair was tied back in a tight bun. She wore too much makeup, so she kind of reminded me of my 3rd grade choir teacher. She had a blue ribbon badge pinned to her chest that took me a moment to read. This monster has been rated exemplary. Tyson whimpered, Sphinx. I knew exactly why he was scared. When he was small, Tyson had been attacked by a sphinx in New York. He still had the scars on his back to prove it. Spotlights blazed on either side of the creature. The only exit was a tunnel right behind the die. When the mechanical spider scuttled between the sphinx's paws and disappeared. Annabeth started forward, but the sphinx roared, showing fangs in her otherwise human face. Bars came down on both tunnel exits, behind us and in front. Immediately, the monster's snarl turned into a brilliant smile. Welcome, lucky contestant, she announced. Get ready to play Answer That Riddle. Canned applause blasted from the ceiling as if there were invisible loudspeakers. Spotlights swept across the room and reflected on the die, throwing disco glitter on the skeletons on the floor. Fabulous prizes, the Sphinx said. Pass the test and you get to advance. Fail and I get to eat you. Who will be our contestant? Annabeth grabbed my arm. I've got this, she whispered. I know what she's going to ask. I didn't argue too hard. I didn't want Annabeth getting devoured by a monster, but I figured if the Sphinx was going to ask riddles, Annabeth was the best one of us to try. She stepped forward to the contestants' podium, which had a skeleton in a school uniform hunched over it. She pushed the skeleton out of the way and it clattered to the floor. Sorry, Annabeth told it. Welcome, Annabeth Chase, the monster cried, though Annabeth hadn't said her name. Are you ready for your test? Yes, she said. Ask your riddle. 20 riddles, actually, the Sphinx said gleefully. What? But back in the old days. Oh, we've raised our standards. To pass, you must show proficiency in all 20. Isn't that great? Applause switched on and off, like somebody turning a faucet. The reference there is the Sphinx's riddle is a very particular riddle from the Oedipus mythology, and it is what is on 4 legs in the morning, 2 legs in the afternoon, and 3 legs at night. And the idea is it's a person, and it's the daytime thing is supposed to be like their lifespan. So your morning is when you're a baby, crawl. When you're an adult, you stand on 2 legs, and when you're an old person, you have a cane and you're kind of hunched on 3. Was the idea. Anyways, so we have 20 now, and see, Annabeth glanced at me nervously. I gave her an encouraging nod. Okay, she told the Sphinx, I'm ready. A drum roll sounded from above. The Sphinx's eyes glittered with excitement. What is the capital of Bulgaria? Annabeth frowned. For a moment I thought she was stumped. Sofia, she said. But, correct, more canned applause. The Sphinx smiled, so wide her fangs showed. Be sure to mark your answer clearly on your test with a number 2 pencil. What? Annabeth looked mystified. Then a test booklet appeared on the podium in front of her, along with a sharpened pencil. That's why there were all the broken pencils. Make sure you bubble each answer clearly and stay inside the circle, the Sphinx said. If you have to erase completely, or the machine will not be able to read your answers. You could so tell that Rick was a teacher. What machine? Annabeth asked. The Sphinx pointed with her paw. Over by the spotlight was a bronze box with a bunch of gears and levers and a big Greek letter Eta on the side, a mark of Hephaestus. Now, said the Sphinx, next question. Wait a second, Annabeth protested. What about what walks on 4 legs in the morning? I beg your pardon, the Sphinx said, clearly annoyed now. The riddle about man, he walks on 4 legs in the morning like a baby. I always say it right before the text gets it. 2 legs in the afternoon like an adult, and 3 legs in the evening like an old man with a cane. That's the riddle you used to ask. Exactly why we changed the test, the Sphinx exclaimed. You already knew the answer. Now, second question. What is the square root of 16? 4, Annabeth said, but correct. Which U.S. president signed the Emancipation Proclamation? Abraham Lincoln, but correct. Riddle number 4. How much? Hold up, Annabeth shouted. I wanted to tell her to stop complaining. She was doing great. She should just answer the question so we could leave. These aren't riddles, Annabeth said. What do you mean? The Sphinx snapped. Of course they are. This test material is specially designed. It's just a bunch of dumb, random facts, Annabeth insisted. Riddles are supposed to make you think. Think? The Sphinx frowned. How am I supposed to test whether you can think? That's ridiculous. Now, how much force is required? Stop, Annabeth insisted. This is a stupid test. Annabeth, Grover cut in nervously. Maybe you could just, finish first and complain later. I'm a child of Athena, she insisted, and this is an insult to my intelligence. I won't answer these questions. Part of me was impressed with her for standing up like that, but part of me thought her pride was going to get us all killed. The spotlights glared. The Sphinx's eyes glittered pure black. Why then, my dear, the monster said calmly, if you won't pass, you fail. And since we can't allow any children to be held back, you'll be eaten. The Sphinx bared her claws, which gleamed like stainless steel. She pounced at the podium. No, Tyson charged. He hates it when people threaten Annabeth, but I couldn't believe he was being so brave, especially since he had had a bad experience with the Sphinx before. He tackled the Sphinx midair, and they crashed sideways into a pile of bones. This gave Annabeth just enough time to gather her wits and draw her knife. Tyson got up, his shirt clawed to shreds. The Sphinx growled, looking for an opening. I drew Riptide and stepped in front of Annabeth. Turn invisible, I told her. I can fight. No, I yelled. The Sphinx is after you. Let us get it. As if to prove my point, the Sphinx knocked Tyson aside and tried to get past me. Grover poked her in the eye with somebody's leg bone. She screeched in pain. Annabeth put on her cap and vanished. The Sphinx pounced right where she'd been standing but came up with empty paws. No fair, the Sphinx wailed. Cheater! With Annabeth no longer in sight, the Sphinx turned on me. I raised my sword, but before I could strike, Tyson ripped the monster's grating machine out of the floor and threw it at the Sphinx's head. ruining her hair bun. It landed in pieces all around her. "My grading machine!" she cried. "I can't be exemplary without my test scores." The bars lifted from the exits. We all dashed for the tunnel. I could only hope Annabeth was doing the same. The Sphinx started to follow, but Grover raised his reed pipes and began to play. Suddenly, the pencils remembered they used to be part of trees. They collected around the Sphinx's paws, grew roots and branches, and began wrapping around the monster's legs. The Sphinx ripped through them, but it bought us just enough time. Tyson pulled Grover into the tunnel, and the bars slammed shut behind us. "Annabeth," I yelled. "Here," she said, right next to me. "Keep moving." We ran through the dark tunnels, listening to the roar of the Sphinx behind us as she complained all about the test she would have to grade by hand. This is 100% just Rick talking about some type of teacher, I believe. And it's funny because I was telling somebody an anecdote about a teacher that I had in high school that makes me think of this. Especially like how pedantic this teacher seems to be. I had a teacher who made reading The Great Gatsby the worst experience ever, to the point where I don't remember that story at all. She had us literally highlight every single color word within The Great Gatsby. And it was just like, why, lady? And she would also tell us our subjective interpretation, our subjective interpretations of the text we were reading were wrong. So I feel like Rick's talking about a certain type of teacher here, but I'm sure that Shannon's going to have something to say about that. Chapter 11, I Set Myself on Fire, which I know this one is a huge one in terms of lore, so I thought we'd lost the spider until Tyson heard a faint pinging sound. We made a few turns, backtracked a few times, and eventually found the spider banging its tiny head on a metal door. The door looked like one of those old-fashioned submarine hatches, oval with metal rivets around the edges and a wheel for a doorknob. Where the portal should have been was a brass plaque, green with age, with the Greek Ada inscribed in the middle. We all looked at each other. "Ready to meet Hephaestus?" Grover said nervously. "No," I admitted. "Yes," Tyson said gleefully, and he turned the wheel. As soon as the door opened, the spider scuttled inside with Tyson right behind it. The rest of us followed, not quite as anxious. This is the last chapter we're covering for the pod today, yes. Let's see, the room was enormous. It looked like a mechanic's garage with several hydraulic lifts. Some had cars on them, but the others had stranger things. A bronze hippolectron with its horse head off and a bunch of wires hanging out of its rooster tail, a metal lion that seemed to be hooked up to a battery charger, and a Greek war chariot made entirely of flames. Smaller projects cluttered a dozen work tables, tools hung along the walls. Each had its own outline on a pegboard, but nothing seemed to be in the right place. The hammer was over the screwdriver place, the staple gun was where the hacksaw was supposed to go. Under the nearest hydraulic lift, which was holding a 98 Toyota Corolla, a pair of legs stuck out, the lower half of a huge man in grubby gray pants and shoes even bigger than Tyson's. One leg was in a metal brace. The spider scuttled straight under the car, and the sounds of banging stopped. Well, a deep voice boomed under the Corolla. "What have we here?" The mechanic pushed out on a back trolley and sat up. I'd seen Hephaestus once before, briefly on Olympus, so I thought I was prepared, but his appearance made me gulp. I guess he'd cleaned up when I saw him on Olympus, or used magic to make his form seem a little less hideous. Here in his own workshop, he apparently didn't care how he looked. He wore a jumpsuit smeared with oil and grime. Hephaestus was embroidered over his chest pocket. His leg creaked and clicked in its metal brace as he stood, and his left shoulder was lower than his right, so he seemed to be leaning even when he was standing up straight. His head was misshapen and bulging. He wore a permanent scowl. His black beard smoked and hissed. Every once in a while, a small wildfire would erupt in his whiskers, then die out. His hands were the size of catcher's mitts, but he handled the spider with amazing skill. He disassembled it in 2 seconds, then put it back together. "There," he muttered to himself, "much better." The spider did a happy flip in his palm, shot a metallic web at the ceiling, and went stringing away. Hephaestus glowered up at us. I didn't make you, did I? Annabeth said, no, sir. Good, the god grumbled. Shoddy workmanship. He studied Annabeth and me. Half-bloods, he grunted. Could be automatons, of course, but probably not. We've met, sir, I told him. Have we? The god answered absently. I got the feeling he didn't care one way or the other. He was just trying to figure out how my jaw worked, whether it was a hinge or a lever or what. Well then, if I didn't smash you to a pulp the first time we met, I suppose I won't have to do it now. He looked up at Tyson and frowned. He looked up at Grover and frowned. Then he looked at Tyson, his eyes twinkled. Well, a Cyclops, good. What are you doing traveling with this lot? Said Tyson, staring at wonder at the god. Yes, well said, Hephaestus agreed. So, there better be a good reason you're disturbing me. The suspension on this corolla is no small matter, you know. Sir, Annabeth said hesitantly, we're looking for Daedalus. We thought... Daedalus? The god roared. You want that old scoundrel? You dare seek him out? His beard burst into flames and his black eyes glowed. Yes, sir, please, Annabeth said. Humph. You're wasting your time. He frowned at something on his work table and limped over to it. He picked up a lump of string and metal pieces and tinkered with them. In a few seconds he was holding a bronze and silver falcon. It spread its metal wings, blinked its obsidian eyes, and flew around the room. Tyson laughed and clapped his hands. The bird landed on Tyson's shoulder and nipped his ear affectionately. Hephaestus regarded him. The god's scowl didn't change, but I thought I saw a kinder twinkle in his eyes. I sense you have something to tell me, Cyclops. Tyson's smile faded. Yes, Lord, we met a 100-handed one. Hephaestus nodded, looking unsurprised. Briareus? Yes, he was scared. He would not help us. And that bothered you? Yes, Tyson's voice wavered. Briareus should be strong. He's older and greater than the Cyclopes, but he ran away. Hephaestus grunted. There was a time I admired the 100-handed ones, back in the day of the First War, but people, monsters, even gods change, young Cyclops. You can't trust them. Look at my loving mother, Hera. You met her, didn't you? She'll smile at your face and talk about how important family is, eh? Didn't stop her from pitching me off of Mount Olympus when she saw my ugly face. But I thought Zeus did that to you, I said. Hephaestus cleared his throat and spat into a bronze spittoon. He snapped his fingers, and the robotic falcon flew back to the work table. Mother likes telling that version of the story, he grumbled. It makes her seem more likable, doesn't it? Blaming it all on my dad. The truth is my mother likes families, but she likes a certain kind of family. Perfect families. She took one look at me and, well, I didn't fit the image, do I? I don't fit the image, do I? He pulled a feather from the falcon's back and the whole automaton fell apart. Believe me, young Cyclops, Hephaestus said. You can't trust others. All you can trust is the work of your own hands. It seemed like a pretty lovely way to live. A pretty lonely way, sorry. Plus, I didn't exactly trust the work of Hephaestus. One time in Denver, his mechanical spiders had almost killed Annabeth and me. And last year, it had been a defective Talos statue that cost Bianca her life. Another one of Hephaestus's little projects. Just a quick note, I had to say this. So Talos is the monster that Bianca passed away in. But Talos is also another name for Perdix. So I got really confused when I looked them up, or looked up Perdix and was like, that doesn't sound like an automaton. They just have the same name. Anyways, he focused on me and narrowed his eyes as if he were reading my thoughts. Oh, this one doesn't like me, he mused. No worries, I'm used to that. What would you ask of me, little demigod? We told you, I said. We need to find Daedalus. There's this guy, Luke, and he's working for Kronos. He's trying to find a way to navigate the labyrinth so he can invade our camp if we don't get to Daedalus first. And I told you, boy, looking for Daedalus is a waste of time. He won't help you. Why not? Hephaestus shrugged. Some of us get thrown off mountainsides. Some of us, the way we learn not to trust people is even more painful. Ask me for gold or flaming sword or magic steed. Those I can grant you easily. But a way to Daedalus, that's an expensive favor. You know where he is then, Annabeth pressed. It isn't wise to go looking, girl. My mother says looking is the nature of wisdom. Hephaestus narrowed his eyes. Who's your mother then? Athena. Figures, he said. Sighed. Fine goddess, Athena. A shame she pledged to never marry. All right, half-blood. I can tell you what you want to know, but there is a price. I need a favor done. Name it, Annabeth said. Hephaestus actually laughed, booming sound like huge bellows stroking a fire. You heroes, he said, always making rash promises. How refreshing. He pressed a button on his workbench, and metal shutters opened along the wall. It was either a huge window or a big screen TV. I couldn't tell which. We were looking at a gray mountain ringed in forests. It must have been a volcano because smoke rose from its crest. One of my forges, Hephaestus said. I have many, but that used to be my favorite. That's Mount St. Helens, Grover said. Great forests around there. You been there? I asked, looking for, Pan. Wait, Annabeth said, looking at Hephaestus. You said it used to be your favorite. What happened? Hephaestus scratched his smoldering beard. Well, that's where the monster typhoon is trapped, Used to be under Mount Etna, but when we moved to America, his force got pinned under Mount St. Helens instead. Great source of fire, but a bit dangerous. There's always a chance he will escape. Lots of eruptions these days, smoldering all the time. He's restless with the Titan rebellion. What do you want us to do, I said. Fight him? Hephaestus snorted. That would be suicide. The gods themselves ran from Typhon when he was free. No, pray you never have to see him, much less fight him. But lately I have sensed intruders in my mountain. Someone or something is using my forges. When I go there, it is empty, but I can tell it is being used. They sense me coming, and they disappear. I send my automatons to investigate, but they do not return. Something ancient is there. Evil. I want to know who dares invade my territory and if they mean to lose Typhon. You want us to find out who it is, I said. Aye, Hephaestus said. Go there. They may not sense you coming. You are not gods. Glad you noticed, I muttered. Go and find out what you can, Hephaestus said. Report back to me, and I will tell you what you need to know about Daedalus. All right, Annabeth said. How do we get there? Hephaestus clapped his hand. The spider came back, swinging down from the rafters. Annabeth flinched when it landed at her feet. My creation will show you the way, Hephaestus said. It's not far through the labyrinth, and try to stay alive, will you? Humans are much more fragile than automatons. We were doing okay until we hit the tree roots. The spider raced along, and we were keeping up, but then we spotted a tunnel off to the side that was dug from raw earth and wrapped in thick roots. Grover stopped dead in his tracks. What is it? I said. He didn't move. He stared open-mouthed into the dark tunnel. His curly hair rustled in the breeze. Come on, Annabeth said. We have to keep moving. This is the way, Grover muttered in awe. This is it. What way? I asked. You mean to Pan? Grover looked at Tyson. Don't you smell it? Dirt, Tyson said, and plants. Yes, this is the way, I'm sure of it. Up ahead, the spider was getting farther down the stone corridor. A few more seconds and we'd lose it. We'll come back, Annabeth promised, on our way back to Hephaestus. The tunnel will be gone by then, Grover said. I have to follow it. A door like this won't stay open. But we can't, Annabeth said. The forges. Grover looked at her sadly. I have to, Annabeth. Don't you understand? She looked desperate, like she didn't understand at all. The spider was almost out of sight, but I thought about my conversation with Grover last night, and he knew what we had to do. We'll split up, I said. No, Annabeth said. That's way too dangerous. How will we ever find each other again? And Grover can't go alone. Tyson put his hand on Grover's shoulder. I will go with him. I couldn't believe I was hearing this. Tyson, are you sure? The big guy nodded. Goat Boy needs help. We will find the god person. I am not like Hephaestus. I trust friends. Grover took a deep breath. Percy, we'll find each other again. We still got the empathy link. I didn't blame him. This was his life's goal. If he didn't find Pan on this journey, the council would never give him another chance. I hope you're right, I said. I know I am. I never heard him sound so confident about anything except maybe cheese enchiladas were better than chicken enchiladas. I agree with Grover on that one, but I can't have either anymore with my food allergies. Be careful, I told him. Then I looked at Tyson. He gulped back a sob and gave me a hug that was just about to squeeze my eyes out of their sockets. Then he and Grover disappeared through the tunnel of tree roots and were lost into the darkness. This is bad, Annabeth said. Splitting up is a really, really bad idea. We'll see them again, I said, trying to sound confident. Now come on, the spider is getting away. It wasn't long before the tunnel started to get hot. The stone walls glowed. The air felt as if we were walking through an oven. The tunnel sloped down, and I could hear a loud roar like a river of metal. The spider skittered along with Annabeth right behind. Hey, wait up, I called to her. She glanced back at me. Yeah? Something Hephaestus said back there. About Athena? She swore to never marry, Annabeth said, like Artemis and Hestia. She's one of the maiden goddesses. I blinked. I'd never heard that about Athena before. But then, how come she has demigod children? I nodded. I was probably blushing, but hopefully it was so hot anyway that Annabeth didn't notice. Percy, you know how Annabeth was born. She sprung from the head of Zeus in full battle armor or something. Exactly. She wasn't born the normal way. She was literally born from thoughts. Her children are born from the same way. When Athena falls in love with a mortal man, it's purely intellectual, the way she loved Odysseus in the old stories. It's a meeting of the minds. She would tell you that's the purest kind of love. So your dad and Athena... So you weren't... I was a brainchild, Annabeth said. Literally. Children of Athena are sprung from the divine thoughts of our mother and immortal ingenuity of our father. We're supposed to be a gift, a blessing from Athena on the men she favors. But... Percy, the spider's getting away. Do you really want me to explain the exact details of how I was born? No, that's okay, she smirked. I thought not. And she ran ahead. I followed, but I wasn't sure I would ever look at Annabeth the same way again. I decided some things were better left as mysteries. The roaring got louder. After another half-mile or so, we emerged in a cavern the size of a Super Bowl stadium. The spider escort stopped and curled into a ball. We had arrived at the forge of Hephaestus. There was no floor, just bubbling lava hundreds of feet below. We stood on a rock ridge that circled the cavern. A huge network of metal bridges spanned across it. At the center was a huge platform of all sorts of machines, cauldrons, forges, and the largest anvil I'd ever seen, a block of iron the size of a house. Creatures moved around the platform, several strange dark shapes, but they were too far away to make out detail. We'll never be able to sneak up on them. Annabeth picked up the metal spider and slipped it into her pocket. I can. Wait here. Hold it, I said, but before I could argue, she put on her Yankees cap and turned invisible. I didn't dare call after her, but I didn't like the idea of her approaching the forge on her own. If those things out there could sense a god coming, would Annabeth be safe? I looked back at the labyrinth tunnel. I missed Grover and Tyson already. Finally, I decided I couldn't stay put. I crept along to the outer rim of the lava lake, hoping I could get a better angle to see what was happening in the middle. The heat was horrible. Garion's ranch had been a winter wonderland compared to this. In no time, I was drenched with sweat. My eyes stung from smoke. I moved along, trying to keep away from the edge until I found my way blocked by a cart on metal wheels, like the kind they use in mine shafts. I lifted up a tarp and found it half full of metal scraps. I was about to squeeze my way around it when I heard voices from up ahead, probably from a side tunnel. Bring it on, one asked. Yeah, another said. Movie's just about done. Bring it in, sorry, not bring it on. I panicked. I didn't have time to back up. There was nowhere to hide except the cart. I scrambled inside and pulled the tarp over me, hoping no one had seen me. I curled my fingers around Riptide just in case I had to fight. The cart lurched forward. Oi, a gruff voice said. Thing weighs a ton. It's celestial bonds, said the other. What do you expect? I got pulled along. We turned a corner, and from the sound of the wheels echoing against the walls, I guessed we had passed a tunnel down into a smaller room. Hopefully I was not about to be dumped into a smelting pot. If they started to tip me over, I'd have to fight my way out quick. I heard lots of talking, chattering voices that didn't sound human, somewhere between a seal's bark and a dog's growl. There were other sounds too, like an old-fashioned film projector and a tiny voice narrating. Just set it in the back, a new voice ordered from across the room. Now, younglings, please attend the film. There will be time for questions afterward. I heard the voices quieted down, and I could hear the film. As this young sea demon matures, the narrator said, changes happen in a monster's body. You may notice your fangs getting longer, and you may have a sudden desire to devour human beings. These changes are perfectly normal and happen to all young monsters. Exciting snarling filled the room. The teacher, I guess, must have been a teacher, told the younglings to be quiet, and the film continued. I didn't understand most of it, and I didn't dare look. The film kept talking about growth spurts and acne problems caused by working in the forges, and proper flipper hygiene, and finally it was over. Now, younglings, the instructor said. What is the proper name of our kind? Sea demons, one of them barked. Anyone else? Telekeens, I think is how you say that. Another monster growled. Very good, the instructor said. And why are we here? Revenge, several shouted. Yes, yes, but why? Zeus is evil, one monster said. He cast us into Tartarus just because we used magic. Indeed, the instructor said, after we made so many of the gods' finest weapons, the trident of Poseidon for one, and, of course, we made the greatest weapon of the Titans. Nevertheless, Zeus cast us away and relied on those fumbling Cyclopes. That is why we are taking over the forges of the usurper Hephaestus, and soon we will control the undersea furnaces, our ancestral home. I clutched my pen sword. These snarling things had created Poseidon's trident? What were they talking about? I'd never heard of a telekine. And so, younglings, the instructor continued, who do we serve? Kronos, they shouted. And when you grow to be big telekines, will you make weapons for his army? Yes, excellent. Now we've brought in some scraps for you to practice with. Let's see how ingenious you are. There was a rush of movement and excited voices coming toward the cart. I got ready to uncap Riptide. The tarp was thrown back. I jumped up, my bronze sword swinging to life in my hands. I found myself facing a bunch of dogs. Well, their faces were dogs anyway, with black snouts, brown eyes, and pointy ears. Their bodies were sleek and black like sea mammals, with stubby legs that were half flipper, half foot, and human-like hands with sharp claws. If you blend together a kid, a Doberman Pinscher, and a sea lion, you'd get something like what I was looking at. A demigod, one snarled. Eat it, yelled another. But that's as far as they got before I slashed a wide arc with Riptide and vaporized the entire front row of monsters. Back off, I yelled at the rest, trying to sound fierce. Behind them stood their instructor, a 6-foot-tall telekine with Doberman fangs snarling at me. I did my best to stare him down. New lesson class, I announced. Most monsters will vaporize when sliced with celestial bronze sword. This change is perfectly normal and will happen to you right now if you don't back off. To my surprise, it worked. The monsters backed up, but there were at least 20 of them. My fear factor wasn't going to last long. I jumped out of the cart, yelled, "Class dismissed," and ran for the exit. The monsters charged after me, barking and growling. I hoped they couldn't run very fast with those stubby legs and flippers, but they waddled along pretty well. Thank the gods there was a door at the end of the tunnel leading out of the main cavern. I slammed it shut and turned the wheel handle to lock it, but I doubted it would keep them for long. I didn't know what to do. Annabeth was out here somewhere invisible. Our chance for a subtle reconnaissance mission had been blown. I ran towards the platform at the center of the lava lake. Annabeth, I yelled. Shh! An invisible hand clapped over my mouth and wrestled me down behind a big bronze cauldron. You want to get us killed? I found her head and took off her Yankees cap. She shimmered into existence in front of me, scowling, her face streaked with ash and grime. Percy, what is your problem? We're gonna have company, I explained quickly about the monster orientation class. Her eyes widened. So that's what they are, she said. Telekines. I should have known, and they're making... Well, look. We peeked over the cauldron. In the center of the platform stood 4 sea demons, but these were fully grown, at least 8 feet tall. Their black skin glistened in the firelight as they worked, sparks flying as they took turns hammering on a long piece of glowing hot metal. The blade is almost complete, it said. It needs another cooling in blood to fuse the metal. Aye, a second one said. It shall be even sharper than before. What is that? I whispered. Annabeth shook her head. They keep talking about fusing metals. I wonder... They were talking about the greatest Titan weapon, I said. And they said they made my father's trident. The Telekines betrayed the gods, Annabeth said. They were practicing dark magic. I don't know what exactly, but Zeus banished them to Tartarus. With Kronos. She nodded. We have to get out. No sooner had she said that than the door to the classroom exploded and young Telekines came pouring out. They stumbled over each other trying to figure out which way to charge. Put your cap back on, I said. Get out. What? Annabeth shrieked. No, I'm not leaving you. I've got a plan. I'll distract them. You can use the metal spider. Maybe it'll lead you back to Hephaestus. You have to tell him what's going on. But you'll be killed. I'll be fine. Besides, we've got no choice. Annabeth glared at me like she was going to punch me. And then she did something that surprised me even more. She kissed me. Be careful, seaweed brain. She put on her hat and vanished. I probably would have sat there for the rest of the day staring at the lava and trying to remember what my name was, but the sea demons jarred me back to reality. I'm going to have Shannon talk about that part because I feel like she's going to have different things to say than me. There, one yelled. The entire class of Telekeens charged across the bridge toward me. I ran for the middle of the platform, surprising the 4 elder sea demons so much they dropped the red-hot blade. It was about 6 feet long and curved like a crescent moon. I'd seen a lot of terrifying things, but this unfinished whatever it was scared me worse. The elder demons got over their surprise quickly. There were 4 ramps leading off the platform, and before I could dash in any direction, each of them had covered an exit. The tallest one snarled, "What do we have here, a son of Poseidon?" "Yes," another growled. I could smell the sea in his blood. I raised Riptide. My heart was pounding. "Strike down one of us, demigod," the third demon said, "and the rest of us shall tear you to shreds. Your father betrayed us. He took our gift and said nothing as we were cast into the pit. We'll see him sliced to pieces, he and all the other Olympians." I wished I had a plan. I wished I hadn't been lying to Annabeth. I wanted her to get out safely. I hoped she'd been sensible enough to do it, but now it was dawning on me that this might be the place I would die. No prophecies for me. I would get overrun in the heat of a volcano by a pack of dog-faced sea lion people. The young Telekeens were at the platform now too, snarling and waiting to see how their 4 elders would deal with me. I felt something burning against the side of my leg. The ice whistle in my pocket was getting colder. If I needed help, now was the time, but I hesitated. I didn't trust Quintus's gift. Before I could make up my mind, the tallest Telekeen said, "Let us see how strong he is. Let us see how long it takes him to burn." He scooped some lava out of the nearest furnace. It set his fingers ablaze, but didn't seem to bother him at all. The other elder Telekeens did the same. The first one threw a glop of molten rock at me and set my pants on fire. 2 more splattered across my chest. I dropped my sword in sheer terror and swatted at my clothes. Fire was engulfing me. Strangely, it felt only warm at first, but it was getting hotter by the instant. "Your father's nature protects you," one said. "Makes you hard to burn, but not impossible, youngling. Not impossible." They threw more lava at me, and I remember screaming. My whole body was on fire, the pain worse than anything I'd ever felt. I was being consumed. I crumpled to the metal floor and heard the sea demon children howling in delight. Then I remembered the voice of the river naiad at the ranch. "The water is within me." I needed the sea. I felt a tugging sensation in my gut, but I had nothing around to help me. Not a faucet or a river, not even a petrified seashell this time, and besides, the last time I'd unleashed my power at the stables, there'd been that scary moment when it had almost gotten away from me. I had no choice. I called to the sea. I reached inside myself and remembered the waves at the currents, the endless power of the ocean, and I let it loose in one horrible scream. Afterward, I can never describe what happened. An explosion, a tidal wave, a whirlwind of powers simultaneously catching me up and blasting me downward into the lava. Fire and water collided, superheated steam, and I shot upward from the heart of the volcano into a huge explosion. Just one piece of flotsam thrown free by 1,000,000 pounds of pressure. The last thing I remember before losing consciousness was flying so high Zeus would never have forgiven me, and then beginning to fall, smoke and fire and water streaming from me. I was a comet hurtling towards the earth. So we will start chapter 12 for the next podcast.